Okay, I think we can start by now. And once again, hello, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to our roundtable, how to deal with security requirements. And our today's roundtable is dedicated to a quite interesting and important topic, which is cybersecurity. Because in my point of view, it's getting a major challenge. And we will have to make clear that especially the accessibility of our systems is somehow secure. And security, in my point of view, starts in the very beginning from a project or from the product development, for instance, right, in requirements engineering. And that's why we said, hey, we need to have some kind of roundtable, inviting some experts in this topic. So today I'm super excited to welcome Carolina and Gregos to today's roundtable for our discussion. And I'm really curious on what are you saying on the topic of security, and if you also think security directly needs to be considered right from the start of the projects. So before we'll hand over to Carolina and Gregos, let me give you some organizational topics. First of all, we will have a recording of the session. So this means for every one of you and also for people who cannot join this session, the recording will be made available by beginning of next week via YouTube. And so you can share this also with your friends or colleagues that are interested in this topic. And if you have any questions, please use the chat and just type in your questions so I can grab the questions and can moderate this to Carolina and Gregos during our session. So enjoy, and I will hand over to Carolina and Gregos to shortly introduce themselves.
Okay. Who took first?
Ladies first.
Ladies first. Okay. Welcome, guys. Well, who am I? I'm from Poland. Grzegorz as well. Stan not, unfortunately. Stan is sitting in Germany. And professionally, I am working in business analysis, mostly on the strategic level. So you can say, okay, what can she tell us about security requirements? However, well, security, there are requirements as everything else. So, in fact, we will talk about them with Grzegorz. So, coming back to me, I am business analyst. I am in the domain since 20 years or something. And I am also involved in IREB activities. Yes, so I'm supporting the IREB, the Requirements Engineering Standardization Scheme. And I have some quality management background that, in my personal opinion, is a great background if you are working in business analysis, because if you know how to test, if you know how to break the system, then you can create the system, design the system a little bit better. So I think that's all if it comes to me, Grzegorz.
Hi, nice to be here. Excited. So I'm analysis for, I would say, around 10 years. Came from the security industry, basically. And then the evolution of my business life took me to becoming a business analyst, basically. So this security thing is my roots, and currently working as a BA in the cybersecurity department. And yeah, I think that's most important, right? For now, at least, I hope.
Perfect, thanks a lot. So I'm really curious about when talking about cybersecurity and talking about that security is something that needs to be designed really in the very beginning. So what is your idea? What do you cover with the term of cybersecurity?
For me, cybersecurity is just, well, defending systems, if we are talking about cybersecurity, just implementing some kind of tools, mechanisms, processes that our data, for example, is safe. Yeah, that's my understanding. However, Grzegorz is the expert, so I will put it over to you to elaborate on that.
Okay, so, well, to be honest, when I think about cybersecurity, it's just providing the security for everything that is digital, I would say. We are living now in a digital world, and it is growing bigger and bigger. We have IoT from a couple of years now, and it also has to be secure. Our awareness about it grows very much, and those things need to be taken into consideration now. And this is the whole thing, the whole scope of cybersecurity, right? The protecting of the system, the networks, programs, but also the data, the information that are digitalized or can be digitalized, right? So this is what I think about if we need to some sort of a description of cybersecurity. This is my understanding, I would say.
Yeah, okay, sounds very feasible for me. And when talking about cybersecurity or security requirements, do you have the experience that people are really considering security requirements just when they are dealing with the product setup or with requirements like functional requirements? Do they consider such requirements as well?
Let me start from the business analysis perspective. Well, my experience with the people awareness is that, well, people know that we have solutions, we have systems, we have internet, and somehow they need to ensure that some things should be safe, secured, and that's all. Yeah. And if we are talking about normal users, like people using internet, well, it's pretty clear that they might have no awareness. But when we are talking about business, who is, well, doing some important operations, they are processing important sensitive data, well, they are dealing with high risk and they have no awareness, that's a problem. Yeah, so for me, that's one of the biggest risks in the projects, the awareness, and actually not problem with requirements, with security requirements, but problem that they don't exist. Yeah? We have no requirements.
Okay, so I would say that it's getting better, better every year because the awareness grows, basically. So from the times when we had requirements saying, oh, and, by the way, just make it some security so, it will be working correctly and it's going to be, fine, to, I would say, pretty much very good, often specific security requirements we have today, because the awareness grows, the threats grows, everything changes. Imagine, just keep in mind how many things and our consciousness changed with the GDPR, right? So that was a huge break, I would say. And the awareness grows, and we are seeing, and I am seeing as a BA, better understanding of the need to provide the cybersecurity or the security to the IT systems, platforms, the things that are creating or are already created to the next level, because the owners are aware of the threats and they need to have their systems secured, just like that.
Absolutely. And I think it's completely true what you say, because if you look to any news blog or wherever you look, anytime the last months see some security issues that appeared. I just read something from Switzerland where they leaked several addresses. They are provided in the darknet because they were not going to pay the kind of money they asked for. And this is, in my perspective, one of the major aspects that security in IT systems is getting more and more important nowadays.
Yeah, especially when we consider that we have some, well, quite visible issues, like Marriott several years ago. You remember the Marriott data leak? And I can even check it because there was a problem with some data security, and it costs almost 20 million fine Yeah, $20 million. So that the cost of fines, penalties, yeah, and almost over 300 million guests affected. Million guests, yeah. So it's not only about money, yeah. That's not, well, money are important, I know, but in business, money is just one factor. It's about reliability.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's the problem. These are the consequences. It's not about that, well, our system is down. Our customers are affected. Yeah, and it's in the end, it could mean that goodbye, Marriott. Have a nice life, but we don't trust you anymore. Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah, I think this is super important, especially as a part of reliability and the outside view of the company today.
Yeah, it's one thing that is changing. I just had this mind that, cybersecurity threats, the things that happen, right, are now on the first pages of every newspaper. That is not just some information that people in the industry just see it, right? This is something that we see on daily newses, right? And everybody's writing about it because the world changed, right? Many years ago, for example, banks, that was a company that was dealing with money, basically.
Yeah.
Today, banks is an IT company that has roots from managing money, but basically that is an IT company today. It's everything changes, right? We have digital money. The real currency is just like 10% of it, right? So that show us what is the need of the level of the security that it has to be provided to that specific industry, right? Just for a simple example. And as Carolina said, it's not always about money, because the fines that can be huge and can be problem. There is always the public relations of the company, how the press will see it, right? Who's gonna make a business with you when everybody knows that you had some sort of a great leakage of data, right? Today, that security of data is one of the most important things because we are aware of that importance of it. And this is all the things that are combined together, and the clients, that business owners are aware today. It's not just about providing new functionalities to the world with some app. It's about providing security in that app.
Yeah, exactly.
From my point of view, it's also, it's also a kind of a bigger picture, because you're absolutely right, Grzegorz, but if you will look at the problem from the high level perspective, it's not only about security that people really, that the awareness is increasing, but also about usability, accessibility. And why? Because we are living in the digital world, right? We have software everywhere. We have digital solutions everywhere. So providing functionality is just not enough.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, indeed. But now coming, I think awareness in general is given, but I'm not sure how is it really in projects. So when you're coming to companies, are they willing to pay this extra money for looking, analyzing, searching for requirements or eliciting requirements that are really needed to making a software more secure?
I would say that it depends from the company. If you are talking about bank, insurances, company that deals with risk and finances, then they know the risk, yeah, they know the consequences, they of course they will pay for that, because they know that at the end, if they will not address this kind of risk, well, it will hurt. Yeah. If we are talking about, smaller, not so risky companies, I used to deal with requirements like the solution shall be secure. That's it.
Sounds very much feasible.
Yeah. So the same story, like the solution should be user-friendly, and yeah. That's it. Yeah. The only requirement that be smart and try to detail that.
Yeah.
So from my understanding, it is really dependent on the maturity of the organization. Yeah, I don't know, Grzegorz, if you have a different experience, but this is at least what I am seeing in this domain.
Okay, so I would say I've got similar experience, but the short answer is yes. So the owners are aware that the security costs, the problem with the cost is with this one is that you don't see it, right? You buy something that when it works, you don't see it. You just see it when it stops working, because then there is a problem, right? And people are aware of it. As I said, the cyber threats things, the cyber attacks now are of first page news. So people want to pay for it. If they are going to a market with something new, they are aware of the securities that they need to provide. And it evolves. So you can get requirements starting from, okay, so we're building this and, it has to be secured. So, do something, provide security. And it's like, okay, so you need something, let's figure out what you need. And there are industries highly regulated. And then it's a very, in a way, easy working, because you've got the security requirements, not only from the business itself, but also from the regulators. And it helps a lot, I would say, right? But it's evolving, the awareness is bigger. The requirements are getting better, more detailed from time to time. Sometimes you can see that somebody is aware of something and it doesn't just, they ring bells, but doesn't know where exactly. And we can see that, but this is the role of BA, right? To help out, to show, and not only to BAs, to be honest. It's I still believe it's a whole teamwork, like the architects, the testers, the developers. So combined together as a team, not only build the IT solution, but provide the security for it also.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe let's dig one step deeper. So we came from organizations now. If the organizations are willing to pay the extra money for security. Now I'm wondering, or at least what I experienced in projects when talking to business people that are requesting a certain functionality, call them some kind of subject matter experts in a certain domain. They always see security as a kind of pain, because they're for sure they're on the one hand interested that the data is not stolen or leaked or whatever, but on the other hand, they are not really willing to dig into detail, to talk about things, and to really to really come to the point where and in which, let's say, functionalities, data, etc. needs this kind of security be included. What is your experience in here when you talk to business people in a project?
My experience is that business people and even business analysts, they are considering security, well, another quality attributes as well, by the way, performance and so on, and something very technical. Technical means that's not for us. Don't ask me, ask architect. We don't have nothing to do with security. So that could be a problem, that I don't really even have a chance to talk with them, because they are considering this information like not relevant at the business level. Yeah, and that is something that is totally wrong, because if you are just for example about the banking industry and the payments, the card payment or something like that, yeah, the business is about, well, the whole business level is about security. Would you really decide to use your credit card or something if you know that your data, your money can go somewhere? No, that's business risk, yeah. So I think that the confusion is that from some reasons we used to think that these are technical requirements, they have nothing to do with us, so it's better to ignore them.
Well, no,
but this will not help at the end.
Yeah, well, let's not ignore them. Please don't. No way. So security is limitation. I would start from this. And Stan, you touch a very difficult topic with no easy answer. There is so many things that should be said here. So first of all, every time we're talking about security, implementing it, there has to be education about it. There has to be a business context provided to the users, right? Because a short sentence with something like, do not do that, you are now not allowed to do that, but it works because it's easy to remember, but that doesn't work for me. I strongly believe that there should be some explanation. Please don't do that, because this might end up in a data leakage. This could provide some other problems. This could be serious problems for whatever, right? Many reasons that can be. That's one thing. The second is, when we're dealing with security requirements, we are aware that those are non-functional limiting requirements. And those limitations has to be taken in consideration also on the business level, because the system, the solution that is to be provided needs to have it needs to be secure on the one side, but the other, it has to be easy to use, accessible, right? And we have to meet somewhere, I would say, in the middle with it, and it's not always easy. Sometimes it's not in the middle. Sometimes it's hard requirements. No, it has to be implemented this way, and it's no discussions about it. Sometimes it's a discussion. It always depends what is the root owner, what's the root owner of the requirement, from where the requirement comes, right? Because when we have the requirements from, as I said, from regulators, basically no discussion, just has to be. But when the requirements come from the business, well, then we can talk about it. So why would you like that? Do you know how much that costs, or what do you think will be provided by that, right? So it's a little bit different, and it works. We can talk about it. A lot of explanations, especially having in mind one of the most important things: security these days costs. And money is a very important thing in the whole idea of building something, right? So we always keep that in mind. The business keeps it in mind, especially the owners. So this is the way of thinking about it. What can be provided, why it has to be provided, how much it will cost, and what will it give us, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you mentioned something like the security will cost. It will. Lack of security will cost more.
Oh, definitely. Lack of security will make you famous. That's one thing, but not in the way you want it to be famous, right?
Exactly.
So don't go that path.
So for me, this is a discussion about risks. Yeah. Are we really able to take this risk, to accept this risk, or we prefer to, to avoid, to implement some risk avoiding strategy and just make sure that this risk will never happen? Yeah, that is something that is known from a long time, the cost of quality and cost of lack of quality. Nothing new here.
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely. And I think there's one question in the chat. Is this really about cost, or is cost the concern in requirements engineering? Maybe it's not only cost, but it's a kind of risk that needs to be mitigated in requirements engineering, in my point of view. Because if we do not ask the right questions with respect to security, if we do not involve the right stakeholders, for instance, some kind of security department that is in your company, then we have the risk of missing requirements. And if we miss such kind of requirements, security requirements, then in my point of view, you could have a full-blown application with nice functionality. If it does not meet the security requirements, most probably this application will never go live.
And answering the question as well, one comment. From the requirements engineer perspective, do I really care about the cost? Maybe yes, maybe not. But from the business analysis perspective, this is one of the factors of selecting solution. If you will remind business case is the analysis of cost and benefits. It is about risk analysis. Yeah. So the cost is something that we need to consider. I'm not saying that I will do it, only me, because the whole team is working on this kind of information and decisions.
Yeah, I would say exactly as Carolina said. It always is worth mentioning that, you know, clients have this tendency of saying, listen, we wanted to have it bulletproof, right? And one thing, that's impossible. And the second thing is that costs a lot. So are you aware of it, right? And sometimes they are willing to pay a lot for the security because they are aware of it, that they need it or they will need it, right? Sometimes they are not aware how much some solution might cost, and they don't need it actually. There can be simple, cheaper solutions. So having in mind and having a conversation about money is important, I would say, because it's, you know, it's not something, you know, how can I say this? Something special to build an IT solution that will cost all the money in the world and provide all the security, even it doesn't need one, right? It should be tailored especially for the needs, right? Cost as much as it should be to provide to meet the security requirements and all the other requirements also as it needed for the market.
Yeah. The next question in the chat brings me to the next point where anyhow wanted to jump to. So we were coming from organization, coming to project, coming to one level deeper to the requirements engineering process itself. And here I'm wondering if we need whatever specific skills, specific knowledge, specific techniques to, on the one hand, think of security requirements and to ask the right questions and to identify people. So how is your procedure? What do you recommend for kind of steps to come to this point for documenting security requirements?
Maybe I will start and then I will pass to Grzegorz as an expert. I'm not a security expert, not at all, but I am a business analyst and I'm responsible for delivering the value. Security is one point of the value. So I need to have at least some knowledge about security. I need to have a knowledge about possible sources, standards, checklists, this kind of stuff. Yeah. Of course, appropriate for a given domain, so that I can even start the discussion with the customer. I'm not saying I will ask the customer, hello, how we are going to implement security, because this is not mine, yeah, but I can ask or suggest which security standards are relevant for a given domain. And this is something that is, again, recognized as one of the basics practices in requirements engineering. What is the source of requirements? The context. You know the context, you know which ecosystem you are living in, right? You are working on a banking solution. Very nice. Look at standards for banking solutions. Then you can have at least high-level statement of rules, principles that could be applied. Yeah, I have a starting point. I am not there to work or elaborate on technical details. This is for the expert. This is for the architect or so on. But to ask a question, hello, are we dealing with payments? Yeah, payments, online payments. Okay, so maybe I will check something on security related with online payments. Yeah, that's my job.
Yeah, so as I always am saying that eliciting of security requirements is just eliciting of requirements with a little flavor. So first of all, it all depends on the matter. If you're working in an industry that is highly regulated, it has government regulations, it has regulations from some regulator like bank industry, some other automotive, medical, right? There is documents on as a starting point, I would say. And that's one source of all the security requirements that I see, like all the legal documentation, the government, the regulators, and they usually are very good. I mean, well written, pretty specific with some business context. Problem starts when it comes to the security requirements from the business side, from the owners, because they are simply saying, okay, so as we discussed, provide the security for that. And this is when the real elicitation starts, the real BA work starts. And well, first of all, we have to know what we have to secure. What type of security we have to provide? Why? What is the core value of this IT solution that we're working on, right? Maybe it's some knowledge, how it works, right? Maybe it's the data that it has, right? Let's say medical data, very sensitive information, right? Maybe it's information regarding money, money transfers, payments, access to accounts, things like that, right?
Just your customer data could be a kind of sensitive data.
Of course. List of your customers, how much you're paying them or they paying you, what bonuses they can get, how long you are waiting, what's the problems with customers. Those are highly valuable business information that can shift the market. And those are things worth protecting, right? So you've got a lot of different standards that are available, not always free, because like the ISO standards, you have to pay for them, right? But there is a lot of information available online that you can go to the NIST standards, the OWASP, a lot of things where you can gather the knowledge. And what was said by Carolina, it's not that BA works alone. It's left with it alone. It's not. I do not know everything. I don't have knowledge of all of my teammates. I work on the security requirements with architect, with developers, with testers, and there is discussion because, some ideas just, can be created because some things just don't exist. Not this age, maybe in a year or two, we're gonna have it. Some things are not worth the money, like, I don't know, what's expensive. Biometrics, that's an expensive thing, and it's also highly regulated. So it's also worth keeping in mind. Those things, right? But that is working on a team, right? As you said, Stan, you can look, security requirements basically in the Moscow prioritization are must. No negotiation about that. They have to be met. You can meet all of the requirements that was made. You do not meet the security requirements, the solution doesn't go to market. That is simple. That's one thing. The second is it cannot be like that working with like testers, like security can limitate many other things, like what else, like a language that we're going to develop, right? Use performance tests, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be highly secured but low performance. So how it's going to be, right? And those are the things that has to be taken into consideration. That is something that is discussed by the whole team, and then what is presented to the stakeholders, to the owners, right? So yeah, I would say.
I think this is super interesting, because what you just mentioned, the interdependencies on the one hand between security requirements, functional requirements, and other quality requirements like performance or whatever.
Usability, for example.
Absolutely. And I think here it's so important that people are talking together. I mean, in general, it's important in requirements in general that people talk together and that they create a shared understanding. But especially here, I think we also need people with some experience and some domain knowledge, because otherwise it's hard to get that certain security functionality will have impact on a functionality or will have impact on certain, let's say, other quality aspects like performance, accessibility, or whatever. Do you have some ideas, or how do you handle this in your projects?
Oh, tough question. Who's starting, Caroline?
Maybe I will tell you what I think. As said, I'm not an expert, but I also know that in the current world, I cannot be just BA. And believe in that I am BA, you are technical guys, you are UX guys, you are testers. So I need to have a little bit of cross-functional knowledge so that at least I know which question could I ask. Yeah. So from my point of view, it's really valuable and even maybe necessary to learn. Yeah, I'm not an expert, but I know OWASP. I'm not an expert, but I know that security is not only about the digital security, but also about the kind of human factors. You can have a super secure system and a personal staff made a mistake, and it's something that will cause in data leak. Yeah, so it's also about this kind of stuff that's, well, in theory, they have nothing to do with our project and so on. So my approach to business analysis, to dealing with requirements, is that, well, I need to have at least some idea about the topic, some idea. And sometimes my role is to also to select team members, select people that will help me. Yeah, if I don't know something, then I have a team member that can help me.
Yeah, so I would, yeah, Caroline is right. There is a couple of things, right? The right people for the right job. Every industry has the same one rules. It's simple and it's efficient and it always works, right? The lack of knowledge, it happens. Different industries, different regulators, different things, and then nothing is obvious. Not when you're a BA working and it's, changing some sort of an industry because you're asked to help and you're moving from bank to automotive or I don't know, aero industry, right? All the commercial flying, things like that, highly secured market. So the same, right? Knowledge will be provided in some ways by the customer. Regulations, things like that, you have to get the knowledge. Then you have to have a team to work with it. And it always has to be someone that you trust, and that's one thing. And trust is and have high competence to do that with, and you like working with them. And the other thing is being honest. You have to have this courage to say, listen, I have no idea about this. I don't know. I need some time to do the research on it and find out and provide some feedback, some answers, some ideas. But that is very important. And it can be done. That security is fast growing market, knowledge, things like that. You have to take this into the consideration. Sometimes it takes time to provide solutions that are needed, long discussions. So yeah, it's a team effort. It's never a one man's job.
Absolutely. And I think it's so important that you have some experts within your team. You can ask for security matters, you can ask for architectural matters, and just then identify the interdependencies that exist. Because otherwise, I think this is quite hard, and it's only a matter of experience for sure in one person that maybe can also handle more or less everything. But in general, requirements engineering is a job, or is something that needs to be done with many people who have really knowledge, with the experts that are considered during the process. Here is another interesting question, goes a bit into this direction. Susan is asking, often security issues are due to end users who may use systems in ways that introduce risk. So what about having requirements engineers directly involved in the assessment of the system?
It's exactly the same story as in case of.
Okay, so we're touching something that I've mentioned already. So there is this drawing that often is used when we talk about security. There is this boxing ring, and in one corner we've got all the high-level security equipment, right? And the other corner is Dave, the typical user, right? And this drawing is one of the best things I have ever seen. It's not like 1 day old, but it's still to the point. And working for so many years, a lot of people told me that, listen, you have no idea what we came across, what people had thought about and had ideas and things like that. And that is always true. So you will not think about every idea that like 1,000 users will have on the ID solution you're providing. So how to deal with it? I would say education. Security is limitation. It always will be. But saying don't do that, well, it always makes the question, but why? This way is simple. So just don't. That's the end of the conversation, but not the smart end of the conversation. But if we are going to explain it, listen, this can, whatever, open ports that we might have problems with it, right? May have bring some new lines of attack to us. It's a high threat of some sort for our security systems, right? Education, explanation, those are the things that are necessary, because when people will understand, listen, I know there is a simple and faster way of doing some things, but we decided not to go this way. We decided to take a little bit longer path, but that provides us with safety, that provides us that we don't think in the weekends, will there be something to go back on Monday? And that is a very important thing. So this is what you get, right? You buy insurance not to use it, but you still pay for it, right?
Sure.
And can you hear me now, guys? Can you hear me? Because I had connection issues. I would like to comment what Susan asked, because, well, it's a typical case. Yeah, we are designing the system and users are going to break it. Typical case. This is what users are doing, not only with security, but also with functionality, usability, with everything. And what can we do about that? Two things. We are designing system, and the system is not designed for forever. Yeah, we are checking, we are monitoring, we are doing the solution evaluation. Then you can discover that, oops, we have a gap. Either you are fixing the solution or the process, or it's just the way the user is operating in the wrong way. Yes, sometimes you can educate the user. Sometimes you can just transfer the risk to the user. Dear user, we told you not to click that button. You clicked.
Oh,
and now she's
no problem.
gone. Now she clicks on you're back.
Yeah, you're back.
I'm back. Okay, cool. I clicked and I broke. Yeah. So what can I say? That is why in current world we are dealing with designing and developing solution in an iterative way. Yeah, so introducing the system, deploying on production is not the end. This is the start, actually. Yeah. Then we have the chance to check if the system is operating correctly, if it's safe, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then we learn on that.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's anytime. So it doesn't matter if this is functionality, if this are security aspects. In our world, we're continuously learning and we are monitoring the system, and we need to be able to react, to do some changes to the system, maybe to prevent certain actions from users. And on the other hand, I think what's also quite important to be as transparent as possible, to as Gregor, as you mentioned, to talk to the users, what they shall do and what they shall not do. For sure, this maybe sometimes motivates users to do exactly the other way. And then this needs to be monitored, and maybe then this needs to be somehow prevented. But I think this is everything one can do. And you, on the one hand, you need to react if this will somehow threat your company, your system, and so on.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when we're explaining it, it always pops up this question. Okay, so what will happen if I do that or something else? And because of this, maybe my background or something, I like to do it usually. Like, so if they are asking me for something, I'm doing it. But by the way, I'm asking this. Okay, and what would happen if I would do that or that? And always they're like, some other people looking at me and was like, okay, smartness. But it is users always will try to do something easier, faster, and that's good. That's in a way human nature. But explaining, listen, we know, but please do not go this path because this might be a big problem. In my opinion, always works. Basically, it's just the awareness, the creating of the awareness works, and we can see it basically every day, right? Because we are now, a lot of people are aware how the personal data is valuable, and we weren't aware of it a couple of years ago, right? We know that this is accurate. This became a currency right now. We know it's worth something and it's worth securing. So we're doing that, right? So this is the topic, explanation, education, and it provides results. And that's one of the best things. And it cannot go, there is no security that will go without it, I would say.
Do you have some advices or tips for a kind of whatever checklists or what to use in your daily BA or requirements engineering work to help people to ask the right questions or to consider the security topics?
Again, for me, it depends from the domain. If you are
Sure.
living in automotive domain, you will have a different checklist. If you are doing web-based application, different checklist. So the specific checklist can be, or maybe should be, I don't know how to say it, Grzegorz, but will be dependent from the domain. But the first question for me, the checklist is like very easy thing that always help me. Perhaps you know the quality model. It's ISO 25 series. The quality model defines the quality of the system and quality in use. And for me, this is a kind of checklist that I am using when talking with business people, stakeholders, etc. Ask about functions, that's easy. Yeah, that's absolutely easy. But asking about specific types of security requirements, that could be the first step. The same story with performance. We are not asking about performance, or you are asking questions like, do you want performance? Yeah, of course. Which performance? Good performance. Yeah, that's not the right question. So you can start from very generic standards, like with quality model to have a start. You can start with OWASP. You can start what Stan just put on the chat window. If you are working in a specific domain, then maybe just try using Google, yes, security standard for automotive. But my advice would be careful with blogs and this kind of sources. Rather look for, the kind of reliable sources like ISO standards, IH standards, OWASP.
Or ChatGPT.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but yeah, so everything is true, and I would always keep in mind something like what has to be secured, right? Because it's not about the whole business, basically, right? So there are some things that have value and they need some sort of a security. And it depends on the market, on the industry, whatever. There is the know-how, clients list, delivery lists, data that we gather, right? Many things can be. Who we working with, right? what has to be secured, why it has to be secured, what will happen if the security will not succeed, so if there will be a data leakage, right? Because sometimes there may be some data leakage, some other accident, right? But that might not be something killing your business. That might be something that can be put into consideration, and you buy insurance for it, and the business goes on, right? But there might be some other things. Maybe it's worth spending that money.
Yeah.
One thing, Grzegorz, what you are saying is exactly the pure requirements engineering. There's nothing, well, it is a kind of special, but the process is the same. You have a high-level business goal, you have the context, you have stakeholders, you are collecting requirements from stakeholders, including legislation and so on. You are starting to elaborating on these requirements. You are starting to looking for constraints, risks, cost, feasibility. So Artur, the checklist, let's say the procedure for me, it's almost the same as with any other kind of requirements.
Yes, just like I said, it's eliciting requirements. When it comes to security requirements, a little flavor.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
Just having maybe one more or two things more in mind, and that's it. And it's working with stakeholders, with the team, with everybody to provide the solution that is needed.
Yeah, I think the most important is just to think of it and to talk about it, just to address this in your meetings, to address this in your workshops you're running, and to think what needs to be secured and what is really required in this sense.
Yeah, exactly.
So, any final words you want to give to the participants? What do they need to do to build more secure solutions?
Do the requirements engineering, I would say. Yeah, start from the high level, understand the context. I will be boring, I know. Yeah, understand stakeholders and their needs. That will help you a lot. Understand that you have another people in the team who are experts who can help you, and you really can say, I don't know, guys, help me.
Yeah,
I think that it will always help. And one thing, I think I miss it. It's with security, it is exactly the same story as with any other types of requirements. Writing requirement is one story, but writing precise, measurable requirement is a different story. Yeah, so we can apply exactly the same rule and think about, okay, how to test the requirement, what can I expect at the end? Yeah, think about a kind of acceptance criteria. And then I can ask architect, for example, what would you say? What would be the acceptance criteria? What would be the outcome?
Yeah, I would say, well, for one, Caroline is absolutely right. The other thing is, don't be scared of them. They're just other set of requirements, and we need to work at. No, they don't. As a BAs, we need to work with them. We can gather knowledge about them. We need to talk to the stakeholders about them. There is more and more knowledge available about that. Having that in mind, always work with the team to provide to fully understand the consequences of implementing them, how well they provide, touch the other things, the performance, the functionalities, things like that. What's going to be the user experience, right? What else? I don't know.
Perfect.
That's it.
Yeah, I think this is a great point. So thanks a lot, Karolina. Thanks a lot, Grzegorz, for this nice discussion. I think for this really important discussion that needs to be considered. I think creating kind of awareness in each and everyone's head during the process of requirements engineering is so important, just to think of it. And if you think of it, you will talk of it, and then you will come at least to a certain set of requirements that are required to secure your system. And this said, thanks a lot to all the participants. Thanks for your questions, and I hope you enjoyed our sessions. We will provide the recording by next week, so stay tuned. Thank you and bye-bye.